The massive space station called Harmony Prime floated in the darkness between the stars. Its metal halls stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy lived and worked inside its walls. Today, something special was happening in the Great Council Chamber at the station's heart. Ambassador. Kate Morrison walked slowly down the long corridor that led to the chamber. Her footsteps echoed off the cold metal walls. She was 52 years old, with silver hair, pulled back in a neat style. Her blue eyes showed no fear, even though she knew what waited for her inside that room. Behind her walked Lieutenant Commander Ryan Baker. He was much younger than Kate, maybe 30 years old. Sandy brown hair was cut short like a soldier's. His green eyes moved back and forth, watching everything around them. Ryan carried a small bag with important papers inside. "Are you ready for this?" Ryan asked quietly as they got closer to the big doors. Kate nodded. "We knew this would not be easy. Earth has been trying to join their club for 10 years now. Today we finally get our answer." The doors to the council chamber were huge. They were made of some kind of blue metal that seemed to glow from inside. When the doors opened, Kate and Ryan stepped into a room that took their breath away. The chamber was shaped like a circle. It was so big that Kate could barely see the other side. Hundreds of seats filled the space, arranged in rings that went up toward the ceiling. In those seats sat the strangest collection of beings that anyone could imagine. There were tall creatures with scales like snakes. Their yellow eyes looked down at Kate with no kindness in them. Other beings had feathers instead of hair and beaks instead of mouths. Some creatures seemed to be made of living crystal that caught the light and threw it back in rainbow colors. In the center of the room was a small platform. This was where Kate would stand to speak. Above her, a huge screen would show Earth and its tiny fleet of ships to everyone in the room. Admiral Zexter stood up from his seat. He was one of the snake-like creatures, but bigger than the others. His scales were dark green with gold patterns. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "So," he said, looking down at Kate, "the humans have come to ask us again. They want to join the Galactic Defense Coalition. They think their little world is ready to help protect the galaxy." Other creatures in the room started to laugh. "Eight" was not a nice sound. The feathered beings made sharp cries. The crystal creatures made ringing noises like breaking glass. The laughter echoed off the walls and filled the chamber. Speaker Krillak was one of the feathered beings.
Ow.
She was tall and thin with bright blue feathers that stood up on her head. Her black eyes were like a bird's eyes, small and sharp. She spread her wings wide as she spoke. "Tell us, human," she said to Kate. "How many ships does your world have? How many soldiers? What weapons do you bring to help us fight our enemies?" Kate stepped forward. She had practiced this speech many times. "Earth has 200 ships. In our space fleet, we have trained crews and new weapons. We want to help keep peace in the galaxy." The laughter got louder. Admiral Zexter slammed his hand on the arm of his chair. The sound was like thunder. 200 ships, he said. 200. My personal fleet has more ships than that. The Reptilian Hegemony has 50,000 ships. The Avian Confederation has 30,000. Even the smallest members of this council have more ships than your entire world. A being made of living crystal stood up. This was Fractus from the Crystalline Collective. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. Perhaps Fractus said the humans should focus on learning to build real ships before they try to join the adults. Our vessels are like toys compared to our technology. On the huge screen above Kate's head, pictures of Earth ships appeared. They looked small and simple next to the alien vessels shown beside them. The human ships were gray and blocky. The alien ships were sleek and powerful. With weapons that glowed with strange energy, Kate felt her face getting hot with anger, but she kept her voice calm. Our ships may be smaller, but our people are brave. We have fought wars before. Know how to work together, brave, Admiral Zexter said. Brave does not matter when you face real enemies. The Devourer fleets that threaten our borders would eat your tiny ships like snacks. You would be destroyed in minutes, another alien spoke up. This one looked like a dolphin, but walked on two legs. He wore a device around his neck that changed his clicks and whistles into words that everyone could understand. The Cetacean Alliance has great respect for all life, he said. But we cannot risk the safety of the galaxy by accepting members who are too weak to help. Earth's ships are not ready for the dangers we face. Ryan stepped closer to Kate. He whispered in her ear, "They're not even listening to us. They made up their minds before we got here." Kate nodded slightly. She had known this would happen, but it still hurt to hear it. She looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Some looked bored, others looked angry. None of them looked like they wanted to give Earth a chance. "We understand your concerns," Kate said, "but every member of this council was once new. Everyone had to start somewhere. We ask only for a chance to prove ourselves." Speaker Krillak laughed again. Her sharp cry hurt Kate's ears. "Prove yourselves how? By losing your ships in the first battle? By getting your crews killed? By making us waste our time rescuing you?" "The decision is clear," Admiral Zexter said. He stood up again and looked down at Kate like she was an insect. "Earth's application to join the Galactic Defense Coalition is rejected. Oh, your world is too primitive and too weak. Perhaps in another 100 years, when you've learned to build real ships and train real soldiers, you can try again." The other aliens started to clap and cheer. The sound filled the chamber like a storm. Kate felt very small standing in the center of all that noise. "Come back when you can fight like adults," Admiral Zexter said. "Until then, stay in your little corner of space and try not to get in our way." Kate and Ryan walked out of the chamber. Together, neither of them spoke until they were far away from the big doors. Kate's face was red with anger and shame. 10 years, she said finally. 10 years of trying to get them to take us seriously. They treat us like children. Ryan looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then he pulled out a small device. From his pocket, it looked like a normal communication tablet, but Kate knew it was much more than that. "Message from Earth Strategic Command," he said quietly. "It came in while we were in there." Kate read the message on the screen. It was very short, but it made her eyes widen with surprise. "Phase 1 protocols are now active. Maintain cover at all costs." She looked at Ryan. "How long until we get home?" "Wait 3 days if we take the normal route," he said. "But our ship has some special equipment. We could be there in 1 day if we need to." Kate thought about this. "Take the normal route. We don't want to make them suspicious, but send a message ahead. Tell them we're coming home and tell them what happened here today." "What should I say happened?" Kate smiled for the first time all day. It was not a nice smile. "Tell them that the Galactic Council has made their position very clear. They think Earth is weak and helpless. They think we're not worth their time or respect." Ryan typed quickly on his device. Message sent. "Anything else?" "Yes," Kate said. "Tell them it's time to show these aliens what humans can really do." They walked to their ship together. It was called the UES Diplomat, and it looked like a simple transport vessel. But Kate knew that looks could be fooling. As they climbed aboard, she thought about the message from Earth Phase 1 protocols. She had hoped they would never need to use them. For 50 years, Earth had been playing a careful game. They had shown the galaxy only what they wanted to see. A small, weak planet with primitive ships and limited technology. But that was about to change. As their ship pulled away from Harmony Prime, Ryan activated a hidden communication system. It was built into the ship's hull where no one could see it. The message he sent was very short and very simple. "The mockery has ended. Begin Phase 2. Far away on the edge of the solar system, something received that message. In the darkness. Between the planets, huge shapes began to move. Ships that had been waiting in silence for decades started to power up their engines. Earth's real fleet was waking up. Kate looked out the window at the stars. Soon, very soon, those aliens would learn the truth about humanity. They would discover that the species they had laughed at and dismissed was not weak at all. They would learn that Earth had been playing the long game all along. And when that day came, Kate Morrison would be there to see the looks on their faces. When they realized just how badly they had underestimated the human race, 3 months had passed since Earth's rejection at the Galactic Council. The aliens had already forgotten about the humans and their small fleet. They went back to their usual business of trading goods and fighting small wars with each other. On the frontier world of New Sparta, 50,000 human colonists lived quiet lives. They grew food, mined metals from the ground, and raised their children far from the dangers of the galaxy's center. Most of them had never seen an alien ship up close. Colonel Jake Turner walked across the military base that protected the colony. He was 45 years old with gray hair cut very short. Old scars crossed his face from battles he had fought years ago. His brown eyes missed nothing as he checked on his soldiers. The base was small compared to alien military stations. Only 12 ships sat on the landing pads. There were 8 frigates, 3 destroyers, and 1 command ship. The ships looked tough, but old. Their metal hulls showed marks from space dust and minor repairs. Major Lisa Park joined Jake as he finished his inspection. She was 38 years old with black hair tied back in a tight bun. Her dark eyes were always thinking about numbers and tactics. She carried a data pad with information about their defenses. "Any word from Earth's command?" Jake asked her. "Nothing new," Lisa said. "We're still on our own out here, the nearest human. Base is 6 weeks away." Jake nodded. This was normal for frontier colonies. They had to take care of themselves most of the time, but something felt different today. His soldiers seemed nervous, and the long-range sensors kept picking up strange signals from deep space. In the colony's main town, Governor Helen Wright was having a meeting with the civilian leaders. Helen was 50 years old with blonde hair and worried blue eyes. She had been governor for 8 years and had never faced a real crisis. "The miners found something strange in Sector 7, said Dr. Carl Mason, the colony's chief scientist. He was a thin man with thick glasses and shaking hands. "The metal deposits are much richer than we thought. If word gets out, other species might want to take this world from us." Double quotes. Helen looked out the window at the peaceful streets. Children played in the parks while their parents worked in shops and offices. None of them knew that their quiet world might soon become very dangerous. That afternoon, everything changed. The sky above New Sparta filled with light as hundreds of ships dropped out of hyperspace. They appeared all at once, like stars suddenly turning on in the daylight. The ships were huge and painted with the red and gold colors of the reptilian hegemony. Colonel Jake Turner ran to the command center as alarms rang across the base. His soldiers scrambled to their battle stations. Major Lisa Park was already at the main computer, counting the enemy ships. 400 vessels, she said in a tight voice. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and support craft. They've got us outnumbered. 32-1. The biggest ship in the alien fleet was twice the size of anything the humans had ever built. Its hull was covered with weapons and armor. This was the Bone Crusher, Admiral Zexther's personal flagship. A message came through on all communication channels. Admiral Zexther's face appeared on every screen in the colony. His yellow snake eyes glowed with cruel pleasure. "Humans of New Sparta," he said. "I am Admiral Zexther of the reptilian hegemony. This world has valuable minerals that my people need. You have 24 hours to leave this planet. Take only what you can carry. Any ships that remain after the deadline will be destroyed." Governor Helen Wright's face turned white as she watched the message. She immediately called Colonel Turner. "Jake, we have to surrender," she said. "We can't fight 400 ships with 12. Think about the children, the families. We can't let them die for a piece of rock." Colonel Turner looked at his small fleet through the command center windows. His ships looked like toys next to the alien armada. Any sane person would surrender immediately, but Jake had received special orders from Earth 6 months ago. Orders that he had hoped he would never need to use. He opened a locked drawer in his desk and pulled out a sealed envelope marked with the highest security codes. "Lisa," he said, "activate Protocol 7. Major Park's eyes went wide. She had heard of Protocol 7 but never thought it would be used. "Are you sure, sir?" "Once we start this, there's no going back," "I'm sure," Jake said. "Send the activation. Code to all ships. Tell the pilots to prepare for what's coming." Lisa typed quickly on her computer. Within minutes, every human ship in the system received the same coded message. The pilots didn't understand it, but they followed their orders. They began moving their ships into attack formation. The alien fleet watched the humans with amusement. Admiral Zexter laughed as he saw the tiny human ships approaching his massive armada. "Look at them," he told his officers. 12 little ships against 400. They must be insane. This will be over in minutes. The space battle began, exactly as everyone expected. The human ships were fast, but small. The alien ships were slow, but powerful. When the first shots were fired, the humans seemed to be fighting a hopeless battle. The UHS Defender, one of the human destroyers, took a direct hit from 3 alien cruisers. The ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. 2 more human ships were badly damaged in the first few minutes of fighting. Admiral Zexter watched from his command bridge with satisfaction. "See how easily they break?" he said to his tactical officer. "These humans are even weaker than I thought. In 1 hour, this system will belong to the hegemony." Colonel Turner's command ship shook as enemy fire hit its shields. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. The bridge filled with smoke. "Shields down to 40%, Major Park reported. "We can't take much more of this. Hold position." Jake ordered, "Help is coming." His officers looked at him like he was crazy. What help could possibly arrive in time? The nearest human base was weeks away. Then something happened that changed everything. Long-range sensors detected a massive energy signature at the edge of the system. Admiral Zexter, sensor officer, a young reptilian named Stock, stared at his instruments in confusion. "Admiral," he said, "I'm reading a large object approaching from hyperspace." It's huge, sir." "How huge?" Zexter asked. 3 times larger than the Bone Crusher, sir." "I've never seen a ship that big." The first human reinforcement vessel dropped out of hyperspace like a mountain falling from the sky. It was painted in the blue and white colors of Earth, but its design was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The ship's hull was smooth and curved, covered with weapons that glowed with strange energy. The name painted on its side read, "S Defiance." Admiral Zexter stared at the massive ship in disbelief. "That's impossible. Humans don't have ships that large. Our intelligence report said they only have primitive vessels." Before he could process this information, more ships began arriving. Not just 1 or 2, but dozens. Then hundreds. Then thousands. The space around New Sparta filled with human warships of every size and design. There were sleek destroyers that moved like hunting cats. There were massive battleships that bristled with weapons. There were strange vessels with technology that the aliens didn't recognize. Stock's voice cracked with fear as he read his instruments. "Admiral, I count over 10,000 human ships. They're still arriving, sir. The sensors can't keep up with them all." Admiral Zexter 400 ships suddenly looked very small. His mighty fleet was surrounded by human vessels that outnumbered them 25 to 1. A new voice came over the communication channels. It belonged to a human woman with steel in her voice. "This is Admiral Patricia Stone, commanding the Earth Defense Fleet. You are trespassing in human space and threatening human civilians. You have 60 seconds to withdraw from this system or be destroyed." Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the UHS Defiance, her gray hair pulled back in her blue eyes cold as space. She was 58 years old and had spent 15 years preparing for this moment. Behind her, officers from a dozen different ships coordinated the massive fleet. Commander Alex Chen, her tactical officer, provided continuous updates. "All ships report ready, Admiral. The enemy fleet is completely surrounded. They have nowhere to run." Admiral Zexter looked around at his officers. Their faces showed the same shock and fear he felt. The humans had somehow hidden a fleet larger than anything the reptilian hegemony possessed. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "Our spies said Earth only had 200 ships." His communication officer received an urgent message from Reptilian High Command. The hegemony's leaders had detected the massive human fleet and were demanding answers. "Admiral," the officer said, "High Command wants to know what's happening. They're reading energy signatures from thousands of human ships." Admiral Zexter realized he had made a terrible mistake. The humans hadn't been weak at all. They'd been hiding their true strength while letting the galaxy think they were harmless. 60 seconds passed quickly. Admiral Stone's voice filled the space around New Sparta. One more time. Time's up, she said. All human ships prepare to engage. Show them what Earth's true fleet can do. The aliens who had mocked humanity 3 months ago were about to learn the truth. Earth had never been weak. They had been playing a game so clever that no one in the galaxy had figured it out until now. Admiral Zexter stared at his tactical display in complete terror. The numbers didn't make sense. 10,000 human ships surrounded his fleet of 400. Each human vessel showed energy readings that his computers said were impossible. His communications officer said with a shaking voice, "The humans are powering up their weapons." "I've never seen energy signatures like these before." Admiral Patricia Stone stood calmly on the bridge of the UHS Defiance. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and steady blue eyes. She had been waiting 15 years for this moment. Behind her officers worked at stations filled with technology the galaxy had never seen. "Commander Chen," she said to her tactical officer, "show them what our shields can do." Commander Alex Chen was 35 years old, with black hair and quick hands. He had trained on Earth's secret weapons for 10 years. "Yes, Admiral. All ships activate defensive screens." The human fleet began to glow. Each ship was surrounded by a blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The energy readings made the alien sensors go crazy. Admiral Zexler decided to test the humans. Maybe their big fleet was just for show. "All ships, fire on the nearest human vessel. Let's see how tough they really are." 100 reptilian ships opened fire at once. Energy beams and missiles flew through space toward a single human destroyer, called the UHS Thunder. The small ship just sat there and took the attack. When the weapons hit the human ship, something impossible happened. The blue glow around the Thunder absorbed every shot. The energy beams disappeared into the shield like water into sand. The missiles bounced off and flew back toward the reptilian ships. Port Admiral Zexer demanded. "No damage to the human ship, sir," his tactical officer said. "Our weapons had no effect at all. And sir, some of our missiles are coming back at us." 3 reptilian cruisers were hit by their own missiles. The ships rocked from the explosions, their hulls cracking under the impact. Captain Dan Murphy commanded. The human heavy cruiser UHS Retribution. It was 42 years old with red hair and a beard. He had been in the Earth Defense Fleet since it started. "Admiral Stone," he said over the communication system. "Permission to show them our offensive capabilities." "Granted, Captain Murphy. 1 shot only. Make it count." The UHS Retribution turned toward the Bone Crusher, Admiral Zexter's flagship. A single weapon on the human ship began to charge. It looked like a small tube, nothing impressive. Admiral Zexter watched the human cruiser with confusion. "What are they doing? A tiny weapon can't hurt the Bone Crusher. Our armor is 3 feet thick." The human weapon fired. It didn't look like much, just a beam of white light that lasted for 2 seconds. But when it hit the Bone Crusher, the massive alien ship simply stopped working. All the lights went out. The engines shut down, the weapons powered off. The ship drifted in space like a dead whale. "What happened?" Admiral Zexter shouted. "Engineering, report." "Sir," came a panicked voice from the engine room. "Everything is offline." "Didn't destroy our systems. It just turned them off." "I've never seen anything like it." "Life support. Still working, sir? But nothing else?" "We're completely helpless." Around the Bone Crusher, the same thing was happening to other reptilian ships. Human vessels fired single shots that disabled entire alien warships without killing anyone. 17 minutes. Admiral Zexter's entire fleet was floating dead in space. Dr. Nathan Ross appeared as a hologram on the bridge of the Bone Crusher. He was 63 years old, with wild white hair and thick glasses. His brown eyes sparkled. With intelligence, "Greetings, Admiral Zexter," Dr. Ross said. "I am Dr. Nathan Ross, Earth's chief scientist. I thought you might like to understand what just happened to your fleet." Admiral Zexter was too shocked to speak. His officers stared at the human scientist in amazement. "You see," Dr. Ross continued, "while your species spent the last 50 years fighting each other, Humanity was busy making scientific breakthroughs. We learned how to manipulate quantum fields, extract energy from empty space, and fold dimensions. Impossible, Admiral Zexer whispered. It's quite possible, Dr. Ross said with a smile. Our weapons don't destroy your ships. They simply convince your computers that they should stop working. Our shields don't block your attacks. They redirect the energy to another dimension where it can't hurt us. Admiral Stone's voice came over the communication system. Zexer, you and your officers will be taken prisoner. Your crews will be allowed to return home with a message for your government. Captain Murphy coordinated the prisoner transfers. Human soldiers in powered armor moved between the disabled alien ships. They were polite but firm as they collected the reptilian officers. Admiral Rue found himself in a small room aboard the UHS Defiance. The walls were covered with displays showing technical information he couldn't understand. Admiral Stone sat across from him at a simple metal table. I don't understand, Zexer said. Our intelligence said Earth only had 200 ships, primitive vessels with old technology. How do you have thousands of advanced warships? Admiral Stone smiled. Because we wanted you to think that. For 50 years, humanity has been expanding. In secret, we built colonies and systems you didn't know existed. We constructed shipyards in empty space between the stars. She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked all the known alien territories. Blue dots showed where humans really lived. We have over 300 colonies, Admiral Stone said. Most of them are hidden in places your explorers never bothered to look. Dark nebulae, asteroid fields, systems with dead stars. We've been very busy while you thought we were primitive. Admiral Zexer stared at the display. There were blue dots everywhere. Humans had spread across a quarter of the galaxy without anyone noticing. The 200 ships your spies saw were just our patrol fleet, Admiral Stone continued. Ships we use to protect our trade routes and show ourselves to your merchants. Our real fleet has 50,000 vessels. 50,000, Zexer repeated in a whisper. And we can build 500 new ships every month. Our automated shipyards work day and night. We have enough resources to outfit 1 million vessels, if we need them. Captain Steve Wilson commanded the destroyer UHS Guardian. He was 38 years old, with brown hair and steady nerves. His ship was escorting a group of reptilian vessels back to their home space. Captain Wilson to Admiral Stone, he reported. The reptilian crews are being very cooperative. They seem to be in shock. Understood, Captain. Make sure they get home safely. I want them to tell their leaders exactly what they saw here. On Earth, President Maria Santos stood before cameras that would broadcast her message to every human colony. She was 55 years old, with black hair streaked with silver. Her dark eyes were serious as she began to speak. My fellow humans, she said, today I must tell you something that has been kept secret for 50 years. You have been told that Earth is a small, weak world, struggling to survive among hostile aliens. This was not true. Around the world, humans stopped what they were doing to listen. In cities and farms and space stations and mining colonies, people watched their president with amazement. We are citizens of the most powerful civilization in the galaxy, President Santos continued. Our scientists have made discoveries that other species think are impossible. Our military has more ships than any alien empire. We are not the weaklings they think we are. Dr. Ross appeared beside the president. The technology we've developed, he said, will change everything. Clean energy that never runs out. Medicine that can cure any disease. Faster than light travel that makes journeys across the galaxy take days instead of months. But why keep it secret? President Santos asked, speaking the question that everyone was thinking. Because we needed to know who our friends really were, she answered. We needed to see which species would treat us with respect when they thought we were weak. We needed to know which ones would try to take advantage of us, the message was. Being broadcast across human space. On distant colonies, families gathered around screens to learn the truth about their civilization. Many people cried with pride and joy. Back at New Sparta, Colonel Turner watched the reptilian fleet disappearing into hyperspace. The alien ships moved slowly, their crews still in shock from what they had witnessed. Major Park stood beside him. "Sir, we're getting messages from all over the galaxy. Every alien government wants to know what happened here. Some are demanding explanations. Others are requesting immediate diplomatic meetings." "And what should we tell them?" Turner asked. Admiral Stone's voice came over the communication system from the Defiance. "Tell them the truth, Colonel. Tell them that humanity is tired of being mocked and dismissed. Tell them that Earth is ready to take its place as a leader in galactic affairs, and if they don't like it, then they can join Admiral Zexthor in learning about our new technology the hard way." News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. In the great halls of alien governments, emergency meetings were called. Military leaders studied the reports and grew pale with fear. The Avian Confederation called their entire fleet back to defend their home worlds. The Crystalline Collective began calculating the mathematical probability of defeating human technology. The news of humanity's victory at New Sparta reached every corner of the galaxy within days. On the great space station Harmony Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session for the third time in a week, the chamber that had once echoed. With laughter at Earth's expense now buzzed with fear and panic, Speaker Krelock paced back and forth on her perch, her blue feathers falling to the floor from stress. Her black eyes darted around the room as she spoke in quick, sharp bursts. 50,000 ships, she said. How did we miss 50,000 ships? Our best scouts, our intelligence networks, our trade partners? How did none of them see this coming? Admiral? Zexer sat in a special chair designed for prisoners. His hands were bound, but the humans had treated him well during his transport back to the council.
Oh.
He looked older than before, his scales dull, and his eyes haunted. "They were smarter than us," he said quietly. "For 50 years, they showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. A few hundred primitive ships, simple technology, weak defenses. We believed it because we wanted to believe it." Crystal being called Fractus resonated with low, worried tones. His body flickered between different colors as he tried to process the implications of human technology. "Their quantum manipulation capabilities exceed our theoretical limits," Fractus said. "They have achieved what our scientists said was impossible. If they can control reality at the subatomic level, what else might they be capable of?"
In the
Center of the chamber, Ambassador Kate Morrison stood with a different posture than before. Her back was straight, her head held high, was no longer asking for acceptance. She was offering terms. Dr. Alina Rodriguez stood beside. Kate, she was 43 years old, with dark hair and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. As Earth's chief diplomatic strategist, she had spent years preparing for this moment. A united Earth Federation, Dr. Rodriguez said, is prepared to offer protection and technological advancement to any species willing to join a new galactic alliance. We call it the United Federation of Worlds. And if we refuse? Asked the dolphin-like representative from the Cetacean Alliance. Kate Morrison smiled. It was not a cruel smile, but it was confident. Then you remain independent, and we wish you well. But you will not have access to our technology, our protection, or our trade networks. General Shriektar, military advisor to the Avian Confederation, spread his wings in agitation. You cannot simply appear with a massive fleet and demand that we reorganize the galaxy around your wishes. We're not demanding anything, Dr. Rodriguez replied calmly. We're making an offer. The galaxy faces threats that none of us can handle. Alone, recent sensor readings suggest that something is stirring in the dark regions beyond known space. She activated a holographic display that showed the edge of the galaxy. Strange energy signatures pulsed in the empty darkness between star systems. Our long-range sensors have detected massive objects moving in the void, Dr. Rodriguez continued. Objects the size of moons, but with artificial energy patterns. Something is coming, and it's bigger than any threat the galaxy has faced in recorded history. The council chamber fell silent. Every species had legends about the ancient enemies that had once threatened all life in the galaxy. Most had assumed those stories were myths. Captain Steve Wilson was patrolling the outer rim aboard the UHS. Guardian when his sensors detected the first confirmed sighting. He was 38 years old with steady nerves, but what he saw on his display made his hands shake. "Admiral Stone," he said over the communication system, "you need to see this immediately." Admiral Stone appeared on his screen from the bridge of the UHS Defiance. "What is it, Captain?" "We've got contact with an unknown vessel at the edge of the Kepler sector. It's... Admiral, this thing is the size of a small moon, and it's alive." Yeah. Image on Wilson's screen showed something that shouldn't exist. The object was roughly spherical, but its surface moved like living tissue. Metal and organic matter were fused together in patterns that hurt to look at. Tentacles the size of skyscrapers writhed around weapon ports that glowed with evil energy. "The Devourers," Admiral Stone whispered. "They're real." Dr. Nathan Ross studied the sensor data from his laboratory on Earth. The readings confirmed his worst fears. The creatures that had nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy 1,000 years ago were returning. "Their technology is biomechanical," he explained to President Santos over a secure communication link. "They don't build ships, they grow them, consume matter and energy to create more of themselves." President Santos sat in her office, surrounded by her military advisors. "How long do we have?" "Based on their movement patterns, the main fleet will reach inhabited space in 6 months. But the scout ships could attack outer colonies within weeks." Admiral Linda Foster commanded the Human Defense Fleet patrolling near the Council space. She was 55 years old with short blonde hair and hands that never shook, no matter how bad things got. "All human ships," she broadcast, "maintain defensive positions but do not engage unless attacked. We're here to protect, not to conquer." The first test came when a Cetacean Alliance colony came under attack by space pirates. The colony's defenders sent out a desperate call for help. Admiral Foster's ship, the UHS Protector, was the closest vessel. "Admiral," her tactical officer said, "the colony has 3 ships trying to fight off 20 pirate vessels. They'll be overwhelmed in minutes." "Take us in," Foster ordered. "All weapons, minimum power. We're here to stop the pirates, not vaporize them." The UHS Protector dropped out of hyperspace above the colony world. The human destroyer was outnumbered, but size and numbers didn't matter anymore. Foster's ship disabled the entire pirate fleet. In 4 minutes, without killing a single enemy crew member, the grateful Cetaceans sent a message to their government. "The humans saved us. Their technology is incredible, but they used only enough force to stop the attackers. They could have destroyed everyone, but chose mercy instead." Similar incidents happened across the galaxy. Human ships appeared wherever help was needed, offering aid without asking for anything in return. Slowly, the alien species began to realize that humanity's intentions might be genuine, but not everyone was convinced. The reptilian hegemony's government met in secret to discuss military options. "We cannot allow these humans to dominate the galaxy," declared Supreme Commander Vaxdal. He was an old warrior with battle scars covering his scales. "If we strike quickly, we might be able to defeat them before they can fully deploy their fleet." "Are you insane?" Admiral Zexter said from his prison cell via communication link. "I've seen their technology. They could destroy our entire civilization without breaking a sweat. Our only chance is to cooperate. But pride and fear made some leaders choose poorly." The reptilian hegemony began secretly moving ships toward human space, planning a surprise attack. The humans detected the military buildup immediately. Admiral Stone called an emergency meeting of all species leaders. "We know about the reptilian fleet movements," she said bluntly. "We could destroy them before they reach our territory. But we won't. Instead, we're going to show you something more important." Dr. Ross activated a massive holographic display that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked where Devourer ships had been detected. There were hundreds of them moving toward populated space from all directions. "The Devourers are coming," Dr. Ross said. "Our historical research suggests they appear every 1,000 years to harvest the galaxy's life and technology. The last time, it took the combined might of 50 species to drive them back." The alien representatives stared at the display in horror. The Devourer fleet was enormous, with ships that dwarfed even the largest human vessels. This time, Admiral Stone said, they're more advanced than before. They've spent 1,000 years growing and evolving in the dark space between galaxies. If we fight them separately, they'll consume us one species at a time. Speaker Krillak's voice was barely a whisper. What do you propose? Complete military integration, Dr. Rodriguez said. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier under unified command. We share our technology with everyone willing to fight. We turn the galaxy into one giant defense force. Under human leadership? Asked Fractus. Under whoever can win, Admiral Stone replied. If you have better technology or tactics, we'll follow your lead. But if we're going to survive, we need to work together. The first Devourer attack came sooner than expected. A colony world called Haven's Rest went silent without any distress signal. When the rescue ships arrived, they found nothing but empty space where a planet used to be. Captain Wilson led the investigation team. His sensors detected strange residue floating in space where Haven's Rest had been. It's like they ate the entire planet, he reported. Rock, metal, atmosphere, everything. There's nothing left but cosmic dust. Dr. Ross analyzed the residue. Samples. They're more efficient than our historical records suggested. A single Devourer ship consumed an entire world in less than 6 hours. The news spread panic across the galaxy. Entire species began evacuating their border worlds. Fleeing toward the center of known space, Ambassador Kate Morrison addressed the Galactic Council one final time. The age of species, fighting species, is over. We face an enemy that sees no difference between humans, reptilians, avians, or crystallons. To them, we're all just food. The largest fleet in galactic history assembled near the core worlds. 100,000 ships from dozens of species formed massive battle groups that stretched across entire star systems. Admiral Patricia Stone commanded from the UHS Sovereign, a new flagship that was twice the size of the Defiance. The command bridge buzzed with activity as officers from every major species worked side by side. Reptilian tacticians shared data with avian pilots. Crystalline engineers helped human technicians modify weapon systems. The Cetacean Alliance provided communication networks that linked every ship in the fleet. Final count, Admiral reported. Commander Alex Chen. 97,000 combat vessels, 15,000 support ships, and 42 mobile repair stations. Every species in the galaxy has contributed something to this fight. Admiral Stone nodded grimly. Through the massive viewing window, she could see the enemy approaching. The Devourer fleet looked like a living nightmare spreading across the stars. The central command ship was bigger than Earth's moon, surrounded by thousands of smaller vessels. That pulsed with biomechanical life. Dr. Nathan Ross worked frantically in his laboratory aboard the Sovereign. His wild white hair was even messier than usual as he studied Devourer technology samples recovered from destroyed worlds. I think I've found something, he said to Admiral Stone over the communication system. The Devourers exist partially in our dimension and partially in parallel space. That's why they can regenerate so quickly, and why our normal weapons have limited effect. Can we use that against them? Stone asked. Maybe if we can create a resonance cascade using our quantum drives, we might be able to trap them between dimensions. But it would require precise timing from every ship in the fleet. Captain Bobby Lee commanded the battleship UHS Vengeance in the front line of the Allied formation. He was 29 years old with brown hair and quick reflexes that had saved his ship in 3 previous battles against Devourer scouts. All weapons charged and ready, he reported. But Admiral, these things are huge. Our biggest guns look like toys compared to what they're bringing. The first engagement began when Devourer scout ships attacked the outer defense perimeter. Captain Steve Wilson led a mixed squadron of human, avian, and reptilian ships against the enemy advance force. Remember, Wilson said to his pilots, aim for the biomechanical joints where the living tissue meets the metal. That's where they're most vulnerable. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Devourer ships moved like giant sea creatures, their tentacles lashing out to grab Allied vessels. When they caught a ship, they began absorbing it, converting the metal and energy into more of themselves. Captain Lee's gunners found their mark on a Devourer cruiser. The enemy ship split in half, but instead of dying, it became two smaller vessels that immediately began growing back to full size. "They're regenerating faster than we can damage them," Lee reported. Admiral Stone made a difficult decision. "All ships fall back to secondary positions. We need to try Dr. Ross's plan." The Allied fleet retreated in good order while the Devourers pressed their attack. The enemy ships moved slowly but steadily, consuming everything in their path. Space stations, asteroid mining facilities, even chunks of space debris disappeared into their hungry mouths. Dr. Ross coordinated with scientists from every species in the Alliance. The Crystalline Collective understood energy manipulation. The Avian Confederation had mastered complex mathematics. The Reptilian Hegemony knew how to build weapons that could crack planets. "The plan is simple in theory," Dr. Ross explained to the fleet commanders. "Every ship with a quantum drive needs to activate it at exactly the same moment. The combined energy will create a dimensional rift that should trap the Devourers between parallel spaces. And if it doesn't work," asked Admiral Zexter, who now commanded a combined reptilian-human battle group, "then we all die together." Dr. Ross said simply. General Carol Mitchell coordinated the defense from Luna Base and Earth's solar system. She was 58 years old with gray hair and green eyes that had seen too many battles. As Earth's highest-ranking military officer, she controlled the secret weapons that humanity had built throughout the solar system. "Dr. Ross," she said, "if the dimensional trap fails, we're prepared to activate the Soul Defense Grid, but that will drain our sun's energy for the next 100 years. Earth will become a frozen world. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Doctor," Ross replied. The final battle began when the Devourer main fleet reached the galactic core. The Allied forces met them near the ancient star called Harmony, where the first Galactic Council had been formed thousands of years ago. Admiral Stone stood on her bridge as enemy ships filled the space around them. The Devourer command ship was so large that it had its own gravity field. Smaller vessels swarmed around it like angry insects. "All ships," Stone announced to the entire fleet. "This is the moment we've trained for. Every species, every culture, every world that calls this galaxy home is counting on us. Today we show the universe that when free peoples stand together, nothing can defeat us." The space battle that followed lasted for 6 hours. Allied ships fought with desperate courage against an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Avian Confederation's fighters darted between Devourer tentacles like birds attacking a giant spider. Reptilian heavy cruisers slugged it out with biomechanical monsters the size of cities. Captain Wilson's destroyer was caught by a Devourer harvester ship. As the enemy vessel began absorbing his hull, Wilson activated his ship's self-destruct system, taking both vessels out in a massive explosion. "Wilson's down," reported Captain Lee. "The Devourers got him." But Wilson's sacrifice bought time for the Alliance to implement Dr. Ross's plan. Scientists on every ship worked together to synchronize their quantum drives. Commander Rachel Green, chief engineer of the Soul Defense Grid, managed the complex calculations from her station on Luna. Her red hair was tied back as she worked at computers that processed more data than most planets generated in a year. "Quantum resonance at 60%, she reported. All ships reporting ready for synchronized activation. The moment came when the Devourer fleet was fully engaged with the Allied forces. Dr. Ross gave the signal, and 97,000 quantum drives activated simultaneously. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Reality itself seemed to bend. Around the Devourer fleet, space twisted into impossible shapes as dimensional barriers collapsed and reformed. The biomechanical ships found themselves caught between two versions of reality, unable to exist fully in either one. The Devourer command ship let out a sound that could be heard across light years. It was a scream of rage and pain as its massive form began to phase in and out of existence. "It's working," Dr. Ross shouted. "The dimensional trap is holding them." The victory came at a cost. The quantum resonance was tearing apart the fabric of space itself. Several Allied ships were caught in the dimensional rift and vanished into parallel universes. Admiral Stone made the hardest decision of her life. All ships retreat to minimum safe distance. We have to let the rift collapse. Naturally, even if it means losing more of our people. The dimensional rift lasted for 27 minutes before reality reasserted itself. When space returned to normal, the Devourer fleet was gone. Not destroyed, but banished to a realm between dimensions where they could no longer threaten the galaxy. The cost had been terrible. 15,000 Allied ships were lost along with their crews, but the galaxy survived. 3 months later, representatives from every species gathered on Earth for the signing of the Galactic Federation Charter. The ceremony took place in the same room where the United Nations had once met, but now it welcomed beings from across the stars. Ambassador Kate Morrison, now Secretary General of the Federation, stood before the assembly. Today we celebrate not just our victory over the Devourers, but the birth of something new. We are no longer separate species competing for resources. We are one people, united by our shared commitment to freedom and peace. Admiral Stone watched the ceremony from the observation deck of the Sovereign, which now served as the Federation's mobile capital. Through the massive windows, she could see construction ships building the first joint colonies where humans and aliens would live together. As neighbors, President Santos addressed the crowd via hologram from Earth. 50 years ago, humanity chose to hide our strength because we wanted to learn who our true friends would be. Today, we found something better than friends. We found family. The galaxy stretched before them, no longer a collection of suspicious rivals, but a unified civilization ready to explore the unknown together. The species that had once mocked Earth now competed for the honor of serving alongside human forces in the new Federation fleet. Dr. Ross received the Federation's highest honor for his scientific breakthrough. In his acceptance speech, he said, "Science taught us how to trap the Devourers between dimensions. But it was courage, sacrifice, and unity that saved us all." Admiral Zexter, once humanity's greatest critic, now served as Admiral Stone's deputy commander. "I learned something important," he told the assembly. "True strength isn't about having the biggest weapons or the fastest ships. It's about knowing when to fight and when to offer your hand in friendship."